Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a tier list again. This is going to be with Phasmophobia gadgets. Now I've played a lot of Phasmophobia, but none of it is up on the channel. I did try recording it multiple times in VR, but the footage just never came out quite right, so there wasn't any videos made of it. But I figured I would do at least one tier list of this, maybe another one if you guys like this, of the ghosts or something like that. So we're going to be going over each of the items. We're going to be ranking them from D to S, or S to D, depending on which way you want to read it. S being the best, D being the worst. So let's talk about each of these. This isn't my list. I just found this here. So I'm going to try to make out the pictures as best I can. I believe that this is just the standard flashlight. The standard flashlight is better than no flashlight. So the flashlight is not the most necessary. It's kind of good that you start out with one for free because it sucks when you forget to put in your strong flashlight if you're playing in a group and everybody's just bringing, one of everything. So you do have that. It's not bad or anything, and it is a source of light, which is pretty important in this game. Certain maps can be kind of a pain to try to walk through in the dark, especially like the prison or the asylum, where you can easily get turned around. So I'd probably put the basic flashlight into B tier. It's pretty much like the baseline item where it has use. So up next is the book, which ghosts can write in. This can be pretty useful. This is an item that's not usually too buggy. You can also kind of tell where a ghost is, at least roughly in the room once you find the room. By just putting this on the ground, because a lot of ghosts will just kick it around for some reason. Same with on video cameras, you can see it move around. It's also pretty useful just to put in front of a video camera, so then you can actually tell what's being written on there. It is kind of necessary to find out what ghosts are there. It's not that expensive. I'd probably put the book in A tier. Up next is video cameras. At least I think this is video cameras and not the tripod. No, the tripod's over here. Alright, so this is video cameras. Video cameras are pretty important. It's nice to have more than one of them because you do start out with one base, which is kind of good, but you can have 6. And having at least 2 to 3 is probably what's best because you can capture ghost orbs, you can capture ghost activity, and of course you can see how your friends are doing when the ghosts are hunting, see if anybody's getting murdered. So they're good for all of that, at least currently, right now, from the last time I played, ghost orbs are kind of buggy, where sometimes they just don't appear in the regular spots. Sometimes they appear somewhere strange. You don't always need video cameras depending on the map. You definitely will in like the houses or the farmhouses, because they might have a camera, but it's always on the outside. Maps like prison or the school or the asylum, you can find ghost orbs with those cameras. And sometimes it's usually best to check at the start of a mission to see if there is any ghost orbs. So the regular camera is pretty good on most maps. It's not necessary on all of them, but I would much rather have cameras than not cameras, so I'm going to put them in A tier above the book. Up next we have candles. Candles, if you're carrying them or if you're just standing in their presence, make it so your sanity drops less. They do have a purpose now in the game where ghosts can blow them out, which is a good mechanic that they have added in. You can have 4 of them. You can relight other candles with already lit candles. You can light candles inside houses with candles and create more light. They are an option, especially for any of the small maps. You really don't need to take a flashlight if you just have candles, and they're pretty decent to have on hand if you just want to be walking around and keep your sanity up. If you think maybe there's a demon or something around, depending on what evidence you've got. It's a pretty good way to not lose sanity. And I think candles are kind of underrated because I usually don't see a whole lot of people take them. I'd probably put candles in B tier as well. I would say they're better than the flashlight because you can place multiple candles and then just keep setting them down so you can have an entire room just lit with light from the candles while you're trying to collect evidence, or just move it into another room nearby so that you have a safe room everybody can go in to just keep their sanity while the ghost is not cooperating usually. Alright, we got the EMF. The EMF detects ghosts. Currently you can only have 2 of these, which I wish you could have more of them, because they are kind of useful. I wish everybody could have one. That being said, they are pretty annoying when they keep going off, especially when they keep giving you 4s rather than 5s when you know that it's something that you need a 5 for. And they can be really buggy. Overall, I don't really like the EMF, but you do need it. So I'd probably put the EMF in like B tier. Glow sticks just allow you to see fingerprints and kind of see in the dark. There is kind of a weird thing that you can do with glow sticks, and that is if you angle yourself at like a diagonal angle of a long hallway, especially in the school or the asylum, you can just hold the glow stick up and you'll be able to see the entire length of the hallway. So it's actually not bad if you are having trouble finding the ghost and just do that and wait for a hunt, because you can actually kind of see exactly where they're spawning. So that can help you figure out where they are. Again, you can use them to find fingerprints, which is useful, and they are really cheap. That being said, you really don't need glow sticks, and I really wish they'd give you more than 2. They also make decent markers. You can mark stairs too when you're first starting, because it's really easy to get mixed up in like the asylum of which stairs to go down and which stairs to go up. So putting like a glow stick at the bottom and top will help. Up next we have headcams. Headcams are one of the more expensive items. Everybody can have one. You can see exactly what the person is seeing, sort of. It's usually like high into to one side or the other. It really depends if the headcams are working for you today. They're great for seeing on camera during a hunt. If you're out in the van, you get to watch your teammates freak out. They also can potentially find you ghost orbs, which is good because, like I said, currently ghost orbs are kind of buggy and they don't always spawn where you want them to. They can be useful, but they're really not necessary. I'd put headcams probably in B tier as well. Next, we have the infrared light sensor, or the Claymore, as I call it. It's more like a trail cam, but you set it up, and then if a ghost walks by it or anybody else walks by it, it lights up. These can be kind of cool. They can be kind of useful to just be putting in small houses. They're really not all that useful outside of like the smaller houses, the farmhouses and the regular houses, because they just take too long to set up and they don't really give you any information. So kind of a cool gadget, but it doesn't really have that much use to it. So I'm going to put it into D tier. All right, up next we have the Crucifix. The Crucifix can prevent up to 2 hunts, which is pretty good. You can have 2 of these, which is actually really good, because certain missions do take a long time where the ghost just won't show up, or won't give you that last piece of evidence, and it could be between like 3 of them. The Crucifix can help you get there. It can make room secure when you're trying to find like fingerprints or when you're trying to use the ghost box. They have recently, I guess, buffed the Crucifix too, where you can now see when the Crucifix has worked. It's not just a anomaly of if it did work or not, where each of the right and left arms will break off after a hunt. So, well, one at a time. One arm will break and then the other arm will break, so that way you know that the Crucifix has been used. Crucifixes are pretty useful, and I'd probably put them at the top of A tier. Again, you don't necessarily need Crucifixes, but they just make everything easier. So, lighters. Lighters are used to light smudge sticks and light candles. You can use them to light candles inside of a house as well, so you don't need to necessarily bring your own candles. You can use the ones inside the house. They are the only thing that can do that. Well, you can light smudge sticks with a candle, but you have to throw the smudge stick through the candle and then pick it back up and run around the room, and it's kind of derpy the way you got to do it, but it does work. You can also accidentally light all of your smudge sticks on fire in the van. That's happened before, and that's not super fun. The lighter, it is really cheap though too. It's not super expensive to buy lighters. Unfortunately, you can only have 2. I don't know why, and I also don't really know why the lighter is actually a gadget. It seems like if you pay for it, you should have to pay a lot, but it's like a permanent item, at least to me. I'd probably put the lighter in C tier with the glow sticks. Again, another item that's kind of handy, but well, it actually is more necessary than the glow sticks, because you do need to have at least one lighter to do certain tasks, to either light the candles or light the smudge sticks. So maybe I should actually put it up into B tier then, because it is kind of a necessity for side objectives. It's not really like a necessity for actually figuring out what the ghost is, but it's just a necessity to do certain side objectives. Next, we got the motion sensor. This is another one that's an objective-based item, where if you can get the ghost to walk through it, you get bonus money. Motion sensor itself can be kind of useful, at least if everybody's talking pretty frequently in the game. If you have people that aren't, and they might just be wandering through the motion sensors, they're not as useful as they could be. That being said, you only really need the motion sensor for that one job, and they are kind of expensive, so they are going to go into C tier. At least lighters are inexpensive, and you have multiple uses for them. So this is the photo camera, I believe. So the photo camera you get 5 pictures with. You can take pictures of anything. You get bonus cash if you take pictures of the ghost or interactions like the Ouija board. Also just random things around the map like the voodoo dolls and the farm maps. You get bonus money for footprints, handprints, you get bonus money for dirty water in the sinks, you get bonus money for. So you get a whole lot of bonus money for these. You can have 4 of them, so everybody can have one, and they're usually not that expensive. I think the photo camera is going to be the first thing I put into S tier, because it just generates you more money. They're usually worth taking. We have sanity pills next. This raises your sanity. This just makes it so the ghost won't hunt at a certain level of sanity if everybody or the collective is at a higher percentage of sanity. So they are pretty useful with that. You do get 1 bottle for everybody, assuming there's 4 people playing. If you're by yourself, you get to eat all 4 pills, and they are kind of handy. They definitely make it easier for you to find the evidence, at least at the professional difficulty. On lower difficulties, I wouldn't say they're very necessary, but on professional, I'd probably put them into like A tier. Up next, we got salt. Salt is used to find footprints and for objectives. Footprints can get you extra money. Objectives are just for extra money as well. So this is another extra money item, but you can kind of track where things are, similar to like the motion detector. So you can track if a ghost is moving in and out of a room, or if they're in like a hallway or something. So it doesn't have that value. It is also really, really cheap to buy salt. So probably just C tier. All right, up next we have the powerful flashlight, or the strong flashlight. This one is more expensive than the regular flashlight, but allows you to see much more clear. You have a bigger overall circle that you can see in from the light. You can also generally see further and more detail in it as well. So it's pretty good. You always want to be having a strong flashlight, at least as of now. Just because it's like the best light source, and light is pretty important. So I'd probably put the strong flashlight also up into S tier. It's kind of annoying to not have a strong flashlight, assuming you're not in like a small house or something where you can just throw up candles everywhere. If you're in like prison or asylum, you want to have the strong flashlight. We got smudge sticks next. Smudge sticks make it so if you use them during a hunt, you can repel a ghost for a short while. You can also smudge a room to get bonus points for, and you can smudge a room to cause a ghost to not go into a hunt, so you can have more time to collect the evidence. So smudge sticks can be quite useful. They're usually not, I don't think they're that expensive. I'm actually forgetting what the price of smudge sticks are. It seems like they're like $45 or something. As I said when I was talking about the lighter, you can light these on fire by accident, both with the lighter and with candles. They do only last a very short amount of time, and it really seems like, at least right now, they should probably give you more of them, because they have tied them now to more objectives. So having 4, sometimes you just don't have enough to do everything. I'm going to put smudge sticks probably also into A tier next to the crucifix. Up next we have the voice box. This one is probably the funnest gadget to use, in my opinion, because it's really great when you get like a really talkative demon and you can just sit there and taunt them or ask them strange questions and they'll answer. So in terms of fun, it's probably like S tier for me. It never gets old talking in the voice box to the ghosts. In terms of usefulness, it is kind of necessary for certain ghosts. You can have 2 of them, which is probably good. You probably only want to have 2 of them. Anymore, and you'd probably get a whole bunch of that static, which can be kind of annoying over time. But a very funny tool, although sometimes this does break. For whatever reason, I have had the ghost box break multiple times, where I've just tried to talk into it and it never picks up my voice for whatever reason, or it picks it up and then never responds. Like it'll do where the number freezes but never pop up with the nothing detected. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but I'd still probably put the ghost box into like A tier. It's pretty fun to use. Next we have a sound sensor. Sound sensors are really not super useful. I'm also going to, I guess, group the Parabolic Microphone in with this because they're kind of similar in the same way, and there's just not one here. So the sound sensor allows you to just hear, movement pretty much in a given area. However, that doesn't really tell you exactly where the ghost is spawning. You might be able to figure out where the room is simply because you were using like the EMF, or you heard a noise in that room. You use the Ouija board, or you can see your breath, or you found a temperature with the thermometer. So there's a lot of different ways you can find just the general room, and once you've already found the room, you really don't need to put up a sound sensor because it's not going to tell you exactly where in the room the ghost actually is. So I really don't see much use to them. The Parabolic Microphone is in a similar situation, is where you can hear ghosts from a distance away, but it's always delayed. And it could be other players. And if players aren't talking to one another, at least frequently, you have no idea whether that's the ghost making that noise, or if that's just another player talking to somebody else, talking to themselves, or opening a door, or whatever it might be. So they're not really all that useful most of the time. They're an interesting idea, and I hope to see them get changed, but right now they're probably the weakest items in the game. So, D tier. Up next, we have the thermometer. The thermometer allows you to measure temperature. What else would it do? So, you can find cold spots. On professional, remember that you have to turn on the electricity before you can actually find the cold spots. Otherwise, everything seems cold. These can be pretty unreliable. And funny enough, they actually sort of got nerfed recently. With not registering temperatures right away. So it takes a few seconds for them to register the temperature. I find thermometers pretty lackluster and almost useless, in my opinion. Once you get a good handle of the game, you can usually just hear where the ghost is somewhere in the building and just roughly walk around there. And then if you see your breath, you're going to know that it's freezing. So you don't need the thermometer. And it would probably be better if you took something like the EMF or even like a spirit box or something. Tripods are pretty cheap. You can just put the video camera on them and move them around. It is a little bit annoying that you can't switch between your items while you have a tripod, though. You have to set it down to switch items, and that can take some getting used to. You also have to make sure to turn the video camera on to stick it on the tripod. Otherwise, you wander in there and set it down, and nobody's going to be able to see anything because it's not recording. That's more with the video camera than with the tripod, but still. Tripod is cheap. You get a lot of them. They're probably the best vantage points in most rooms because you're going to be able to see the majority of the room when they're set on a tripod. Not every room in the game has really good places to set cameras down. Like the bathrooms, you can't just set them on the toilets or on the sinks or something because sometimes there's other objects blocking you from seeing anything, and the tripods will help you out with that. So they're kind of a nice quality of life. Again, they're not necessary, but probably C tier. And then we've got the UV flashlight. This is essentially a better glow stick in a lot of ways. You do get at least one free one. You can have 4 of them. You can see handprints and footprints from further away. You can use it as a source of light, but it's not way great for that. That's not really what it's intended for. Something even like a candle, I would argue, is better for a source of light, but this does show you fingerprints and you do need those. The UV flashlight I would probably also put somewhere into B tier. So this is where I would rank all of the Phasmophobia gadgets, at least currently. I'm really hoping that we get more of them. I think that would be really cool. Or some of them get reworked, like these lower ones get reworked in some way. Or you get more objectives with them or something. I would really want to use the Parabolic Microphone for more stuff, but there's just not a use for it right now. So tell me what you thought of this list and what your favorite Phasmophobia gadget is. Mine's definitely the Spirit Box. I love that one the most. Leave that down in the comments below. If you're new here and you enjoy this video, be sure that you subscribe. That way you get notifications whenever I post any of these. As a reminder, I do stream every day except for Mondays and Thursdays. So head on over to the stream if you'd like to see me live there. And I will talk to all of you guys next time. Until then, stay cool and bye.